Hello, traders. It's 8 a.m. Chicago time on Thursday, the 16th of July, 2020. This is episode number 1798. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, we have a market that is risk off, has a skew towards risk off. We're seeing the bonds, the U.S. bonds leading so far, up 19 ticks. The Bund is the German 10-year note is up 40 ticks. The 10-year note in U.S. is up 4 big ticks, and the U.S. dollar's up. The U.S. dollar's trading at 96.07 even. The Nasdaq is a laggard. Nasdaq is taking a bit of a hit today as we come into the session. The S&P has stayed well ahead of its mid and VWAP throughout the overnight session. We will take a closer look at that here in a minute. But overall, weekly jobless claims rise by more than 1 million for the 16th straight week. Overall, we got some numbers at 7:30 about a half hour ago, and within those numbers, we find that initial claims came in at 1.3 million versus 1.29 forecast. We also got retail sales month on month, which came in quite healthy at 7.5% versus 4.5%. The prior's plus 18.2. There was quite a bit in the overnight session. We had the ECB interest rate announcement. We had the ECB press conference still going a little bit. And then for the rest of the day, at 10 o'clock, we have NAHB Housing Market Index, business inventories, both at 10 o'clock, Feds Williams at 11:10 Eastern, and Feds Evans at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we wrap up the afternoon, this session this evening. Great Britain has its GfK Consumer Confidence Flash. It comes out at 7:01 p.m. Eastern Time, which is, I think, midnight, just after midnight their time. Not sure why it comes out then, but there you have it. That's what's scheduled for today. Quite a few numbers came out of Europe, balance of trade, and so on. So it was a pretty busy session overnight. In terms of what was expected yesterday versus what we got, let's hop on over to our review segment real quick. Yesterday, remember this is a Globex chart now. I've switched my charts to Globex to full session. I'm going to make an additional adjustment to match the exchange open and close time as well. But the Globex session shows, or the yesterday's plan was we were gapping up. This is the RTH session from Tuesday, and we were gapping up in a double distribution profile. And the primary idea, is that we would likely push up, potentially push that overnight high at 33 1/4, then drop through towards the prior day's high, and I didn't expect it to push into the prior day's high, but drop through, and then I expected it to rally into the close. That's the primary scenario. Here's what actually happened. This is basically yesterday's session. We open up just where we expected, around 32.33. And we chop around. We basically have a back and forth. We push into 32.28.29, which is important from some time ago. 26.5 was the last high in this area, RTH, and we could not get to the overnight high, which was up here, and then we start to sell off. So we're following scenario one. I was looking for it to turn somewhere in 32.05. We did get a 32.05 bounce back to the mid on the nose. The mid was hit on the nose right here. and then it continued down, and then it hit the prior high by a tick. The prior high is at 92 and a quarter, and it hit it by a tick at 92, giving us a 92 low during the RTH session, and then it pushed right back uh, into the mid, and went basically had quite wide rotations throughout the afternoon. Don't know how you did yesterday, but this is sort of my favorite kind of market. Why? Note that yesterday we had a lot of respect for day time frame levels, right? So we had the prior session high um, testing out and hitting that 92 almost to the tick. Earlier in the session, also there were other indications that it was respecting daytime frame levels, and that to me tells me that I can lean on these levels a little bit better. I should get rid of these stock zones as they are for today. You can see the opening swing high and the opening swing low back here. You know, I'm on a quest to clean up my charts, and I have actually, one of the things I got rid of is that. Um, and that. We don't need to know what these fractals are. And so this is oops, yeah. So this is where we finished yesterday. Now, here's the thing to observe if we're looking at this. We had the open right here. Again, I point this out all the time. We opened right here. That's the zero line on the delta, and you could see that we pushed higher. And the delta did not really respond. Did not respond here. Sellers were very dominant yesterday. I could see that it was having a hard time pushing through the offer, especially into 26, 28. That area was really well sold. Now, if we push through there over the next day or few days or whatever, which is highly likely, we're likely to see a pretty decent spike through there. And then we turn down to the prior day's high, and you get a much lower delta. We push back up almost back to the open, and the delta is not even close to where it was to the zero line. And as we pull down just a higher low here, we have an even lower delta. The market pushes back up as expected into the close, and the delta is not playing along. And what this is saying is that as we are approaching these, as we're pushing into the 3220s and higher, um, as it push into the 20s or higher, the delta is getting hit. There's a supply there, and it's relatively active. They're not icebergs on the offer, because if there are icebergs on the offer, we would get a positive delta. It appears to me that there was an aggressor there that's selling throughout the session. And of course, you know, today we're trading down here at 3,200. We've gone down as far as 3188.50 in the overnight session. It seems exhausted up into that area. Once it did its test in the overnight session in yesterday's Globex, not last night, but the day before Globex session, the 33 high, it really could not sustain those levels. And there's a pretty well sustained offer up there in the order book. So that's where we stood yesterday. It was basically scenario one, but we missed the turns by a fair amount, and that's where we stand. Looking at bookmap, CT bookmap here, looking at the order flow in the overnight session. I'm keeping this chart to 30 minutes, so I always have to, I forget to scroll beforehand, and it has to handle all the data here. Since I'm broadcasting, it slows down the video card, so it's kind of slow. It's not this slow when I'm just trading. So if we look at what we've done in the overnight session, you can see a very clear favor to the downside, clear rotations down, clear rotations down. It did stabilize right at the European Open, right in here, stabilized a little bit, but still continues to grind down, and we're holding on to the lower end of the range in the overnight session. We're not moving away too far from there. We've left the bulk of the profile above in the overnight session, and we have remained below VWAP throughout. So the overnight session is really, and this VWAP actually needs to I need to change the reset on this as well as I retool. The offers 32.20 has a big offer. Remember those 20s, and then yesterday's high area, the 33, yesterday's Globex high has a decent amount of liquidity, a little bit of liquidity at 05. I suspect that this will be taken out. I'm seeing a big push now into the full session VWAP. Above and beneath us, let's take a look. Let's extend out a little bit and look at what's beneath. The overnight low is around 88. 88, it's 88.50. Right underneath that, there's a bid. Looks like an exit bid, really. And then from there, it's pretty free and clear. On my charts, I see an area at 31.81. Right here, this stock zone here, 31.81. 31.60, 31.75 as well, right here, a 6-tick stock zone, and then an 8-tick stock zone around 65. So that's how things are shaping up in the order flow. Let's go back and take a look at the volume scope for a second. The volume scope is basically the same as a footprint chart. We could see some pretty decent pops. We did have a kind of a wiggle and a drop. This whole zone right here, all of these PNF bars actually occurred. These 3 bars occurred on the release of the initial claims number, and it's kind of a drop, but now we see pretty good pickup on the buy side back into the full session VWAP. This is a decent area for a test short. So far, it's only rotated about 2 points or so, but overall, we're seeing some buying stepping in. The cumulative delta is starting to turn up over here. So that's what the footprint looks like right now. It's been quite noisy, but steady to the short side. This last test was right into that prior session low, yesterday's low. Okay, so that's holding, and we're starting to turn up back into VWAP. If it cannot let go, if it cannot hold the VWAP, then I'm looking for 31.05, and then for it to revert back or respond back to yesterday's range and profile, which brings us back into the 32.15, 32.18 area before we achieve balance once again. So that's a lot to get through here. So let's hop right to it and get to what's expected for today. Here it is. We're looking at the stock zones for today. The stock zone levels for today. Again, this is Globex. My charts are 24 hours now, or full session. This is yesterday's range. To me, it looks like we are, we've shifted we have the point of control right here at 3,200, and we're struggling in this area. Pretty decent push up into the full session VWAP just now, right in here. And the expectation this morning is for an open auction that reverts back. We're opening inside of yesterday's pit range, and the expectation is we push back towards yesterday's value low right down here at 32.08 and a quarter, 32.09. Consolidate in this area and then likely push back up into the point of control from yesterday, which is around 32.18. And that's what's expected for today. So I'm looking forward to mount an attack on the buy side, come back up, take back some of the selling in the overnight session. Overnight inventory is mostly short. I expect it to come back up, retest yesterday's range, lower high before we start to migrate lower. Still battling. Remember yesterday I said, look, we got through that 3,200 pretty quick a couple of sessions ago. We are likely to get stuck in the century figure highlighted in yellow here, get stuck in the century figure for a bit. The secondary is an open auction that attempts to push up, balance the inventory a little bit, and then encounters some selling, has an impulse down, and then we start to push the overnight low and work our way through. And we would be giving up some of these big areas, 31.88 and so on, and start to work ourselves back into the 31.75 area before the bounce. So I didn't give myself much space here. These are the two main scenarios. I'm sure some of you are probably rolling your eyes going, oh, okay, so it's going to go up or it's going to go down. Duh. That's not the point. The point is there are specific areas it's likely to test these stock zones, okay? And we're looking for turns in those areas. I'm watching very closely this morning. I'm going to watch very closely at how it attacks the low. If it tests down on the opening swing, as it pushes down, I'm going to see what the quality of that low is, and see if it gets any support from buyers to start rotating up. And the goal is to catch the move back up to 32.18, at least 05 and then 18 from here, and then look for a turn around that 18 area. If it does not turn in the 18 area, then we're looking for yesterday's value high, which is 23.5, and then we have the 25, 26 area to deal with. Again, this is a well-contested area up here, and that's likely to be the next test area. So that's basically the plan. Play what's in front of you, right? Trade what's in front of you, but have an idea if it does give up on pushing higher, then this becomes the cluster that it's likely to test right down here, right? So it's likely to push into the 75 or so, and that gives us about 30 points of range, which is reasonable. Recently, it's going 38 points close to close, about 50 points high to low, day in, day out, okay? So that's what we're looking at for today. Good luck, and I will catch you tomorrow morning. Take care.